have your most recent quiz here, so I'd like to go over the questions that you missed. For question number 2, it says that the graph below represents the amount of change Jackson would receive, Y, if he bought an item with a cost of X. So we're looking at, here's the cost of the item along the X-axis, and this is the change he would receive from the purchase of that item. So when we look at equations, we write equations in slope-intercept form. It looks like y equals mx plus b, but that's not necessarily the order it has to be written in. We want to focus on two things. One, we want to focus, I'm going to change the color here. We're going to focus on where, and make my dots a little smaller. And we're going to look at where the graph crosses the y-axis. That's the B, so the y-axis where it crosses. And then this is the slope. And you'll get into some more, you'll get into some other lessons later that are a little more detailed about this, but we look at what's happening here, and this slope is negative. It's going downhill as we move from left to right, so it's a negative slope. So we need a negative x. Okay, this one has a negative x, and so does this one. But we need a positive 10 because it crosses at the positive 10. So 10 minus x is how we would get that answer. The one that you selected has a positive slope, or a positive x, a plus sign in front of the x, which means that line would actually be going this direction from 10. Question 4, each time Christine gets paid, she spends $20 and saves the rest. If the amount Christine earns is represented by X and the amount she saves is represented by Y, which graph, models her savings? I'm just trying to make sure I can get everything it says in the reading memorized, because when I start writing on this screen, I can't scroll anymore because the writing doesn't move, so then it gets kind of confusing. So spends 20 and saves the rest. So let me just see if I can come up with an example here. If we made $20, we would have spent $20, which means we wouldn't have saved anything. There's 0. If we made $30 here, we spend 20, which means we would have saved 10. If we made 40, spent 20, we would have saved 20. So I'm just checking where these ordered pairs fall. So basically what has to happen is the ordered pairs in this table have to have a difference of 20. So that first ordered pair is 20, 0, 25, 5, 30, 10. So the y value, this y value, you'd have to subtract 20 from the x value to get the y value. So that's why that one works. Yeah, see my writing there. Let me just delete that, all of it. So then, for example, if I just take this ordered pair, you're saying she earns $5 and she saves 100. Well, you only earned 5. How can you save 100? So that graph doesn't make sense. If I earn $10, I can't save 200 because I only earned 10. So this one doesn't make sense. Okay, Kelly and Greta are asked to write an equation for the scenario below. One person is able to plant 4 trees in the same amount of time that 5 people working together were able to plant 20 trees. The girls agree that X represents the number of people working, Y represents the number of trees planted. Kelly writes the equation y equals 1/4 x, and Greta writes the equation y equals 4x. X is what again? Number of people working. Okay, so if we make a table, people are the X, and trees are the Y. So here we are told one person plants 4 trees, 5 people plant 20 trees. So now if we look at these two equations, we just have to decide which one fits the scenario. Which one, when I plug the X value in, do I get the correct Y value? So in this first equation, if X is 1, right here for people, and I plug it in, that means they would only do a quarter of a tree, because 1/4 or 1/4 times 1 is 1/4. If I plug it in here, if I plug one person in here, 4 times 1 is 4, so I would get one person planting 4 trees. Yeah, this one is correct because plugging in those two situations, one person planting 4 trees or 5 people planting 20 trees, works in that equation, y equals 4x. Each person plants 4 more trees than the person before them. Okay, 4 more trees would be addition. 2 people would do 8, 3 people would do 12. Okay, so I mean, I guess what you're saying here isn't really wrong, but based on their equation, it wants to know which person is correct in their equation. And so that's why we say Greta, because her equation works for the table in this situation. Which table values correspond to, okay, so this one, I looked at this one already for you earlier, but, and I can scroll here so that it all fits. You can see the right answer down here and then your incorrect answer there. So when we're plotting ordered pairs from a graph, this is a skill that we should know for 8th grade, and it looks like a couple of times you've worked with graphs, you have not known this. Ordered pairs are x, y. So when I name some of these points, I go in the x direction first and then I go up or down. So if I'm talking about this point right here, that's -3, -5. I go left 3 and then I go down 5. This point here, just in the middle on the y-axis, I don't go anywhere in the x direction and then I go down 2. So that's 0, -2, because I'm going down. If I focus on this point here, okay, that's 3, 1, right 3, up 1. This table, the one that is correct, let me just show you where those points are. So this is 0, -2, 1, -1, over 2, don't go up or down any, over 4, go up 2. So I don't know how your table just looks backwards. You've got everything flipped. So you're doing all of your ordered pairs backwards. The x comes first and then the y. And in this table has all the ordered pairs flipped from what the correct answer is. The graph below represents the number of books Jaleel has read over the past X weeks. Which equation represents the graph? So again, remember in slope-intercept form, this number is that y-intercept. So you have to look at where the graph crosses the y-axis. It crosses at 3. So we have y equals something plus 3. And there's only one equation that has y equals something plus 3. This one, your slope here is a 1, because for every book we read takes us a week. So 1 book, 1 week, 1 book, 1 week, 1 book, 1 week. And again, I really want to stress that you just take your time. This was another one where, you know, we were taking this in less than 10 minutes on some of those attempts, and that's probably not something that should be possible. That's just pretty fast. Let me know if you have any other questions. I have added another attempt to the quiz.